All right, all right. Let me just get myself set up here and then we'll start to jump right in. I just have to put the right thing on my screen, which I think will be that. There we go. A little sip of water. So, take two. I just tried this a moment ago and had to stop and start over, and let's try this again. So, over the last many years, every time I've taught didgeridoo, at the same time, I felt like I was doing therapy. And I think this is because students of anything really, end up facing a lot of the same things clients face. Oh, by the way, for those of you who don't know, I trained to become a counselor in the last couple of years. I am actually over 1 year into my practice as a counselor. So that's where my head is at. The things didgeridoo students face are very similar to the things my clients face. And so I thought I'd kind of explore how these things overlap, because I think, personal work, inner growth, it's never really a bad thing. Perhaps it's only ever bad if one becomes obsessed with it and always thinks there needs to be growth. Sometimes we need a chance to rest and integrate and pause. But in general, inner growth, probably a helpful thing. So, how is didgeridoo playing? How is learning didgeridoo like therapy? First thing, before we even touch the instrument, breathing. I had a student who I taught to breathe properly, probably had never breathed properly in their life. And when I taught kind of the right approach and it clicked, the student started crying. So what is the right approach? I think most of us, when we're told to take a deep breath, we put too much emphasis up here, and the tension in our muscles actually blocks us from taking the deepest breath possible. So I came up with a little switch. The goal here, and I just need to switch my screen. There we go. The goal here is to do the opposite of taking a deep breath. It's to attempt a complete exhale. So if you want to do this right now, empty your lungs completely, using your muscles in your core all the way, all the way, all the way. If you're talking like I am, you'll start to run out of air and you won't be able to talk anymore. All the way. And then relax to allow air in. Now, if you watch yourself on video or in a mirror and you see your collarbone and shoulders go up when you breathe, then you're breathing with your secondary breathing muscles. So that's also an issue. If you put your hand on your navel, that's one area you could focus on, or side ribs, low ribs. With either position, you can do the full exhale. All the way, all the way, all the way, all the way. And then your hand, wherever your one or two hands happen to be, they will expand, move outward. And this stays relatively calm until you've filled up down below. And then your chest can also expand, but not up, not this way. At least not into the shoulders. There will be a little bit of upward expansion, but we're not breathing from up here. We're trying to avoid using these muscles here. We want to use core muscles. So I taught that to a student. He sat there just practicing full exhales, deep inhales, and then the tears started flowing. And he goes, I don't know why I'm crying. And the thing is, a lot of us hold a ton of tension in this area. We feel strong emotion and we lock it down. We don't want to, blow up, or we don't want to break down into tears in front of other people. So we lock it down, lock it down, lock it down. That becomes a pattern over time. And then when we finally break out of that pattern, it's almost like we begin to access the memory of those emotions, in a sense. A pathway that was blocked opens up, and energy starts to flow in a way it hasn't in a long time. And maybe that just overwhelms us. I'm just going to pause there and see if anyone has chatted. So if you're out there, if you're watching and you'd like to say hello, where you're from in the world, maybe how long you've played Didgeridoo, and if you have any questions or any comments on any of these concepts, please put that in the chat and I'll say hello back. So breathing. Deep breathing can really start to shift some things. When we get into actually playing and a student's working on circular breathing, we get into another interesting concept, which is interesting. It's trying too hard. That's the concept. Hello. We made a didgeridoo last week. That is cool. Where in the world are you? And your name, the Kachinga Verse? Okay. Initially, when people learn to circular breathe, they breathe too hard. And so you see it up here often. You see this really strong effort, you know. It makes sense. It makes so much sense why there's effort there. When someone's learning to circular breathe, they really want to breathe while making the sound. They really want it. And so they put all this, there's all this tension in the body. I see more comments. Hello, Riverside, California, USA. Ricky EQ, hello. There's all this effort. But the weird thing is, when there's all that effort, you actually create friction here. You can see my nostrils pulling. It's not that effort is bad. It's not that discipline is bad. But sometimes we lose sight of where to put our focus. When we're circular breathing, this needs to not be the focus. The power is down below. And that's going to be the case in a lot of forms of therapy. You know, the focus in a person's mind might initially be on, you know, why is this person blaming me? When the focus needs to be, why do I think they're blaming me? And why does that just get in there? Can't get past 4 minutes with circular breathing. And thanks for the sweet comment. Also, Kachinga, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's awesome. So we need to build the right foundation. So in Didgeridoo, it's going to be breathing and your positioning and posture. If you're playing standing up and holding your didge and tilt down at the neck, you're not set up for success. So you really most likely want to sit. You want to have something with a back, so either a wall or a chair. You want to be able to, or if you're comfortable sitting forward and vertically, great. You want to be open here, open here. You don't want to be tilted down very much. You want the didgeridoo to come to you. And now things can relax. There's a lot less effort in the core. And so the idea here is this very powerful exhale from the core. And then this really light, lovely exhale where things here relax. And it just pulls air in from down below. So someone like Ricky saying you can't get past 4 minutes, this is going to be one of the big keys. So another thing, take a deep breath in. Let it halfway out, maybe a tiny bit more out, and then start from there. myself be breathed. I want to let air enter me rather than sucking it in. I want to avoid movement like this. All of these things really will go a long way to extending how long you can play, how fast you can play, the quality of the sound, all of that. But then students often run into this next issue. They'll see me demonstrate. And it's funny because sometimes I try to demonstrate by copying where they're at. So if they sound more like this, I'll kind of show like where they're at and then where they can get to with small tweaks. Hello, Adam. So, I'll kind of reflect back to them. Actually, I do that in therapy. I'll reflect someone's situation back to them in the hope that they maybe see it in a new way. So I'll show them where they're at, and then I'll show them where they can get to. And then here's the danger. Yes, wood slide. Still going strong. Some people have asked how it's holding up. It's still good. They'll see me play and then they'll say, but I can't play like you. Comparison is such a devil. Here's my take on comparison. If it inspires you to practice a lot, to explore, if it inspires you to have greater discipline, then it's a good thing. But if it blocks you, leads to self-judgment, leads to frustration, leads to not feeling good enough, then it's not helpful. So we really actually have to be clear on what we're doing with comparison. Are we putting it up there as an internal block, or are we using it to inspire? You should not compare yourself to, you should not compare your level, let's say, to someone who's been playing for, I've been playing for 15 years or so. And I've been playing for 15 years with like periods of intense practice and periods of not much practice. I should not compare myself to someone who practices for 4 hours a day. That kind of comparison, unless it's inspiring, that kind of comparison just slows us down. So don't do it. But use it as a guide for feedback. The thing is, no matter what you're doing, let's say I just say, I'm going to play some little rhythmic snippet and see how fast I can push it. It's not that fast right now. It's not that clear. It's not that dialed in. I haven't been practicing. So, there's kind of two ways to assess that. One is, I'm not that good. I'm not as good as that person. Not helpful. The better way is, that is a perfect representation of how much I've played lately, how much I've practiced, etc. That is the gauge of what I've put into it. If I put more into it, I will get more out of it. If I played that rhythm for 20 minutes every day, for 90 days or so, it would be faster and clearer. So that's the useful application of assessment. Trombone didgeridoo. So you made a slide didgeridoo. That's cool. Let me know if you have any questions about anything here. So we want to avoid comparison unless it's inspiring. It's not really useful to compare ourselves with people who have a totally different level of experience. And when we're assessing ourselves, it really is a way of seeing how much effort we've put into it, how much time, discipline, practice. That's it. It's not about good or bad. It's just this rhythm is the result of this much time focused on it. That's it. So that's a really helpful shift. Again, the same with clients. teach a lot of clients a really lovely, calming style of breath that I first learned about from the Huberman Lab podcast. He calls it the physiological sigh. It's a full inhale through the nose, followed by a second sharp inhale also through the nose. So, and then this long, slow exhale just helps you calm right down. A client can't do that once and expect it to solve everything. If they do it once a day, it will start to make a small difference. If they do it 3 times once a day, even better. And if they use it every time they're feeling stressed, at least 3 times, but up to a minute, it's going to really start to change things. So when a client comes to me saying, nothing's really working, I got to get curious and ask them, well, how much are you practicing these things? It doesn't just switch automatically. Okay, so another thing is also very similar to both learning didgeridoo and therapy, having reasonable expectations. So most people, when they go to learn circular breathing the first time, in the beginning, they expect to hear themselves do this. And then they're frustrated because it doesn't sound smooth like me or someone else. I've covered this before, but it's always worth repeating. There are multiple points in the circular breath cycle when it's possible to end up with a bit of a pulsation in the sound. So for example, when you first fill your cheeks, you might get an extra boost of sound there. So one way to smooth things out is to slowly inflate your cheeks. The sound will still change, just not as much. And then when people breathe in, they squeeze really hard and get another change in the sound. Second change. So if you don't want that sound to happen, then we have to squeeze really gently. Next, our lungs come back in. So we go from lungs to inhale, and then that often creates another little peak in the sound. And so if you're going for a smooth drone, we actually want to slowly bring the lungs back in. I'm bringing my breath back in very slowly, very gently. But again, if someone is just starting out, I don't actually want the smooth drone to be the goal. Not yet. It's better if the goal is simply to get a sound on the long exhale and a sound on the inhale. And sometimes we have to lower the expectation further, at least in the beginning, so that there might be a gap, but at least it's a drone on the exhale from the lungs and a sound on the squeeze from the mouth. But if there's a gap, fine. We just want a sound during the inhale. And sometimes for people, it's very short. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Maybe it's just this much in the beginning. But it's 2 parts. You can inhale, and on the inhale, you're getting a little bit of sound. Great. Don't go for smooth yet. Go for extending that sound. So maybe from here to there to there. And then you can start to connect it. If you're just joining us, let me know in the chat where you are in the world. I'd love to hear that. And we're exploring sort of similarities between personal work, therapy. I'm a counselor now, so that's a big part of my focus. And then learning didgeridoo. Lots of overlap. So we want to have a reasonable expectation based on where we're at and where we'd like to go. It's too much to expect that where you want to go is the thing you'll achieve right now where you're at. So we want to know the right steps to get there. So that applies to anything. If you want to, play, I don't know, something like that. Can you do just the first piece? And how good is it? How strong is it? How much work does it need? Can it flow together? Can you get the 3 separate sounds? So there's the goal, but where are you? What's the next step from there? Again, same thing with therapy. Someone doesn't want to be anxious, so that's the goal. They don't want to be anxious, but in their daily life, they feel fast heartbeat, they feel shaky, obsessive thoughts, whatever. To be anxiety-free is the more of an endpoint. The next step might be, well, every time I start to feel anxious, I need to do that physiological sigh that I talked about. So that's there. Do it 2 times, do it 3 times. Start to notice sooner and sooner what triggers the anxiety. Do more calming practices throughout the day. The end goal comes further down the road. Hello in Wales. Thanks for joining. Weird idea, I know, but I'm exploring the similarity between therapy and learning didgeridoo. Because for all the years I've taught it, it always felt like therapy on some level. Okay, another interesting area of similarity. When people are learning didgeridoo, there are kind of 2 main branches, the way I sort of see it, of practice type focus. One is going to be the more sort of regimented, intellectual, technical side. And the other is going to be the more creative and artistic side. Neither one functions very well without the other. I've seen people who are very technical, but the creativity just isn't there. People are very creative, but the technique isn't there to support their creativity. So we need to sort of be building them both as we go. What that means is in your practicing, maybe you pick something and drill it for a while. So maybe take a very simple pattern like, tawa, tawa, tawa. Etc. I'm going to maybe go for faster tempos, clearer sounds, longer endurance. That's the technical side. But then we have to sometimes let that go. And in order to see what we've actually absorbed and create spaces where we get to just play with it. So I might do the exact same thing, but I'm going to see if I can muck around with the sounds themselves. Okay, so start to muck around, come up with some new ideas, and then discover that my in-breath toot on this ditch, it's pretty lame right now. So I would go back to just that technical piece and work it for a while. So I'm back to the technical. And then once it's starting to work again, or work for the first time, then open back up to something creative. So maybe I drop it back into the context of what I was playing before. And it starts to function again. So we need the technical as a sort of scaffolding for expression, but then we got to practice the expression and just remove all expectations and just explore. It is, after all, called playing didgeridoo, not I don't know, engineering. Can I explain the process of making the dog bark? I could do that. And then tell me more about your question. If I ever need a resource at Riverside, California. A resource? What do you mean? Dog bark. I mean, honestly, the idea with any of these animal sounds is to mimic the sound off Didge. So, are you good at making a dog bark off Didge? It's not something I like to do off Didge, but if I were to give it a shot, I'd do something like, right? Give it this, like, gotta hit it. And then I'm trying to do it through Buzz's lips. And then putting it into Didge. Thing is, I don't know exactly what dog bark you're talking about. Those vary from player to player. I almost never use animal sounds anymore. That's the other thing. I think I used them more in the past. I think I've just fallen out of my interest in trying to replicate nature sounds. At least dogs. But I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying I don't have the best approach for it other than mimic it with your voice. Try it through buzzed lips. Definitely breath support. That's helpful. Sometimes knowing why we want to do a thing is interesting. Do we want it because we think it sounds good? Do we want to do it because we heard someone else do it and we thought it sounded cool? I find that the more connected I am to a particular technique, like the more I feel it at the soul level, the more motivation there is to get there, and the more it sort of works itself out. It's hard to explain. So, yeah, sorry, not a lot of help there. I find having a higher voice, a higher vocal range helps. So if you wanted to expand your vocal range, you could practice just a pitch bend. So from low to high and back, and gradually get that higher and smoother. Oh. And then you can pick your dog bark pitch and give it some punch. Let me know if that helps. All right, I'm going to just double check and see if this gives me any indication of time. Nope, it does not. If you're at all curious about the sort of therapeutic path, I've also combined didgeridoo lessons with sort of a therapeutic approach. So it's like part didgeridoo technique, part creative exploration, and part, discussion and exploration around, blockages. Blockages are interesting. They show up in both worlds too. In the didgeridoo side of things, it's like, I'm not musical, or I'm tone deaf, or one of those. I have no rhythm. And the thing is, I think on the intellectual or conceptual level, a person might be right. Like maybe they can't read music, maybe they can't read notation. But if you can walk, you have rhythm. If you understand inflection, you understand something about musicality. If you can tap your foot to a song, you have rhythm. If music makes you want to bob a little bit, you have rhythm. There's so many ways that we have music in us, we just don't think we do because maybe professionals have been elevated, we put them on pedestals and then we think, well, I'm not that, so I don't have the same thing. You're right, it's not the same, but you do have it. So the same kind of thing applies. A person thinking I'm not musical, or a person thinking I'm not confident. Either of those things, we sort of take them and like weave them into our personality, even if they're not true or even if they can be debunked. And then our personality, ego thing doesn't want to let go of them. So maybe instead of saying to oneself, I'm not musical, a question could be, how can I be musical? How can I connect to music? How can I foster music in myself? If you don't ever listen to music, then start listening to music. If a person comes to me wanting to work on confidence, we're not just going to go to the most confident level of existence. We're not going to go to public speaking, but we might work on small practices and habits that build confidence, little risks. Hey, thanks for the comment. I'm glad this is interesting to you. I wasn't sure if this would be interesting to anyone. Yeah, I see so many blocks with didgeridoo around the idea of confidence, creativity, musicality. And the more we focus on those things, those thoughts, the more we just get in the way. So here's an approach. Here's an approach that comes from Kenny Werner and this concept of effortless mastery. Essentially, in a nutshell, you practice the technique so it becomes kind of like the structure through which inspiration can flow, and inspiration comes from sort of opening oneself up to what you could call creative energy. And the way to begin doing that is to shift the way we relate to good and bad, to judgment. I'm a bad player. I'm a good player. I played really well that time. I played badly that time. Instead, we listen to the sound. I just love this technique. We listen to the sound, the very next sound, as if it is the most beautiful sound we've ever heard. What that does for me, at least, is bring my full attention to listening with my entire being to the sound and to the to the beauty of the sound. It shifts me from judging the sound to just hearing it fully. And I'm seeing some comments pop up. My face shows what's possible when the tongue and airway are working as they should, giving people access to one of the deepest biomechanical upgrades with your determinants. Thank you. Xavier Rudd, yes. Yes, very moving music. Yeah, totally. Okay, so listen to the next sound as if it is the most beautiful sound you've ever heard. What that means is, if I want to do that, I really have to listen. Like, listen with every cell. So I'm actually going to pause before I play and ready myself so that even the fartiest drone has some level of beauty in it. Like, it's a sound that I am alive to hear. Yes. Now, that's not to say that we should stop there. You make this really farty sound and that's all you play. It's more a matter of accepting where we're at so we stop blocking ourselves from further progress. So, the next sound I play shall be the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. I really heard that in a totally different way. Hey, I'm really glad to hear, Ricky, that helped. And handpan. Yes, handpan and drums. I played some handpan too. I've got two on the wall right back there. They are a whole different therapeutic instrument. Two hands, multiple notes. How do you extract music from, just a few notes? How do you touch the instrument to get a nice sound? So many levels and layers. Let's just explore something since you mentioned handpan, and then I'll see if I can apply it to Didge too. I like this idea of spontaneously creating a string of gems or pearls. So you just let yourself randomly play. Randomly. Just wherever it wants to go. I should really be demonstrating this, shouldn't I? Let's see. Okay. My hope is you can still hear strings of pearls. And I've got a ring on that I need to work off my finger. So the idea is randomly play. Randomly play bits and pieces, whether it's scales or chords. I mean, that could even be using the Kenny Werner approach. The next sound is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard. And maybe I just get lost in that note. And I'm just mucking around. So this whole thing just emerged because I let myself get really curious about one sound, and then the technique I have available let me explore other notes around it. Now, what if I stay with that note, but I go to other notes? Okay. So the idea here is I'm gonna just follow kind of random whims, like what if I just tap this note a bunch of times? So the string of pearls is like all these little nuggets of sound that then grab me. And then I'm gonna pick one and go into it and deepen it and stay with it. So let it be random, playful, nonsensical, non-rhythmic, and then when something pops out that you like, let yourself just explore. See how deeply you can go into that one thing. So let's just see how that works with Didge. Don't know if you can tell, but what I'm doing is exploring around this one little bit I'm really liking, which is a certain vocal pitch combo with the Didge. It's creating a texture I like, but I'm not sure where to go yet, so I'm just being random about it. So that's kind of what the exploration might look like. And I'm just sort of taking this one little bit that sounded like, that tickled my brain, and I'm just massaging it to see what emerges. Trying things. Going off this way, nope. Going off that way, nope. I think it's the same thing with self-improvement, with therapy of any kind. You gotta like kind of look around, see what like touches you, see what gives you some motivation to practice, and then stay with it and go deeper. So if you do a breath practice and it's like, wow, that really got in there, then stay with it, return to it, expand it, learn about it, etc. All right. I'm going to wrap this up just so it's not such a long epic video. So this is a last chance for this live stream to say hello, say where in the world you are. Last chance, maybe one more question, and then after that I will wrap it up. For those who've stuck around, who are up, who are online at this time, thanks for humoring me, thanks for participating, thanks for your comments, your curiosity. It's nice to know that there's some, interest and openness to this idea of merging, an old love and a new love. Let's see. I like that. So tongue, posture, vibration. Oh yeah, so circular breathing, tongue, posture, vibration. It's not just music. Correct. Totally. I agree. It's not just music. Yeah, all of these pieces fit together in more ways than we think. It's not just music. It's like the therapeutic benefit of bringing ourselves back to something a little challenging that requires some discipline again and again and again. We face our stuff. And at least with Didgeridoo, this is one I'm the most experienced to talk about, it's a really physically challenging practice. And so, yeah, you're right. We're not just learning music. We're learning how to be more relaxed, how to breathe better, better posture, everything you just said. I'm just repeating it back. Yeah, it highlights so many interesting habits, helps people see that they breathe from up here, helps us see how tension is disruptive, how trying too hard isn't helpful, but discipline and practice are. Yeah. And then, yeah, you get the benefit of this beautifully deep vibrational instrument that has the potential to energetically move stuff, whether or not you want to call it music. So, McDonald's. I wish I could read the last, the characters at the end of your username. You're welcome. Last few moments here, last chance to say hello or goodbye, where you're from, final question, and then gonna finish this one up. If you have requests for future live streams or videos in general, please let me know in the comments. If you want weekly tidbits, monthly tidbits, monthly rhythms, monthly ideas, my Patreon page, patreon.com/breathwood. You can find that there. We're going to leave it at that. It's mental countdown before I press the stop streaming button. Thanks, everyone. I am making an effort to get back on here a little bit more often. So I will look for your comments and do my best to respond. And if you have any requests, I'll do my best to answer those as well. All right. Epic. Thank you. I'm going to end it right there. Thanks for watching. Happy playing. Happy personal growth. And I will see you again soon.